Hello! Greetings, salutations, all that jazz. How are we doing today? Grot, I see you're in chat.
Right.
Everybody doing all right? Let me turn down this music. Actually, I'm going to turn that music off. I'm going to turn on different music.
I can't even hear the music, but then again, I'm on the channel.
You're not supposed to.
You're not special. You don't get to hear the special music.
I decided to mute the Twitch channel.
That's smart, because you may wind up getting weird lead over. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's always a couple of
seconds. Or
time traveler nosebleed.
Man, we'll give anybody else who wants to join us. I just did. I dropped an @ in the Discord. But yeah, we're just chilling.
Yeah, I think it's us and Grot at the moment.
And that might be it, and that's okay.
Cool.
Well, how's y'all's day been going? How about that?
I had work. And I don't have work now. So I'm doing good.
It got better.
It got better.
I
really want to put a jacket on.
Nuggies and a beer. So I'm doing great.
Oh man, you're set. You are set for success. You want to put on a jacket?
Yeah, it's cold in here. We just finished fake spring. So yeah.
Oh, y'all have those too? We're going into a fall now. So
it hit the 50s last night.
Oh my god, that is fall, baby.
Yeah, we got up to the 80s for like the next week though. So
same.
Yeah, that's the thing. We got up to like 19. We got up to 19 last weekend, and then back down to like 10.
In the energy world, we call that shoulder season.
What does that mean?
If you graph the temperatures, it's where the shoulder kind of happens.
Neat.
Yeah.
Look at that. We're
it's basically the period where you go heat at night, air conditioning during the day, heat at night, air conditioning during the day.
Yeah, we have that for a week and a half, and then it's all one way or the other.
Yeah.
Denver will get fake winter at the end of October. Okay.
Sounds about right, Grot.
High heating and low heating are. Wait, what? What a high heating and a low.
Don't get confused, Em.
What is
There's
that?
heating.
Like,
sometimes it's high. Sometimes it's low.
Is that a bit though?
Kind of like Emily.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. I also work.
I just realized what T-shirt you're wearing, and it's fabulous.
I love this. This makes me happy. I'm trying to decide if what? Oh fuck! Can I not do that? For what you call it? Yeah. I forgot that Discord has a snitch capability built in, so that if you're streaming on Discord and you're playing Spotify, it will pause your Spotify because it thinks that you're like essentially streaming music without paying for it, I guess. I don't fucking know.
I think it thinks that you're on a phone call, so it's trying to pause.
I mean, I don't want you to do that though. I think it's the worst part. I always assume the worst thing. That people hate me.
That's fair.
They don't want me to have nice
I'll leave you
things.
to it.
Leave you to it. No, don't do that.
I won't stop you.
No.
Doesn't hurt any people for you to think that.
Enable.
In this particular case.
What is this?
And I have to say
Your
that
twin's a person. Your twin is a person.
Yeah.
I am glad that I got in late to the premiere for Untouchables and saw your score, so I didn't get to watch it and get upset before I came on here.
Oh, why?
I have not seen it yet, so I don't know what the score given was.
I think that you were fair to it.
I think I was totally fair.
I'm not saying whether you were fair or not, but also
Are you saying it because you love the movie or because you don't like the movie?
I love The Untouchables.
Okay.
And also I just noticed that I seem to have lost a lot of hair, and Solar's got a lot of hair back.
Yep.
Wait, beard? Hold on. I'm sorry. I was
Yes.
trying to figure out audio stuff, and I thought, yeah, okay, somebody flipped
Yeah,
around. Okay.
I currently have
Okay.
Knight's flowing locks, and Knight has
Not
my.
super sure how that happened, but why not? Sure. Okay.
You're looking good too, Solar.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Lovely as ever.
Not so much with the switch around. You're just looking healthy.
Yes, that's. I don't think I could. I don't think I'm at a stage where I could pull off your hair at this point. I used to, but I don't think I could anymore.
Yeah, it's at the stage where I can't either because it's thin as hell. So I've got to get it cut soon. It's annoying me at the moment when I eat that I end up eating half my hair.
Well,
My
that's
father-in-law
not
has
good.
Knight's hair and Sola's beard.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So if you guys
overachiever.
just line up on the screen just right,
That's right. You are my father-in-law.
Meanwhile, all I'm thinking, and it's like 3 beards and a babe. Okay.
It's so that's a fun thing about Discord that I found out. When you look at like your Discord screen, like your
Yes.
Discord camera, it's mirrored. But what other people see is not mirrored. But because I'm doing a display capture of my screen, you see the mirrored portion. So
Yeah, well, that's what, like, I'm looking at Discord and none of us
you
are
can
mirrored.
unmirror your display if you want.
you
Yep.
told me that before, and I may have done it, but recently Discord hates me. That's what I've decided.
We don't have to solve that
Where?
barely a problem now.
Well, now I'm curious. Where is it? What up, Sam?
Video settings?
Hey, Sam.
Video.
And you can only tell it's mirrored if you're wearing a shirt with writing on it anyway,
Well,
for the most part.
you can
Well,
tell
and
because
you
it's
know,
my
there's the
like,
writing in the back,
background.
and yeah.
Okay. Where? In voice and video?
Should be.
In Discord?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, witty name.
Cheryl, hi.
Cheryl.
Haven't read this. That's okay. If
That's
you're
okay.
okay with spoilers, we can just kind of like talk about it, and you can see
Yeah.
if it'd be actually interesting.
It would be a very tough book to do without spoilers
Oh yeah.
for an entire
Yeah.
stream. We'd have very little to talk about.
It is one that's worth the spoilers, though.
I will say that it is better the second time too.
Yes.
I
because
imagine
of
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause you
that's what
catch-
I was thinking last night too.
Well, let's get into it. Let's see here. This is the book that we read. It's on the screen also because I thought ahead. To be fair, we were supposed to read this back in December. And then I pulled an Emily. So it's took us a minute. By us, I very much mean me. But when I did finally read it, I was kind of pissed off at myself that I didn't read it sooner. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Hey, Littlefoot!
There's a Littlefoot. A wild Littlefoot has appeared.
And I'll be honest, I didn't take any notes because I'm a failure as a student. So we'll probably defer to Sola and
I have
Booyah
a lot of notes.
I want to ask Booyah,
I am seriously considering just writing a blog post about.
did you
this
go
book.
down the Jorge Borges and the C.S. Lewis route as well?
Yeah. Less about the C.S. Lewis, but yes,
First
Hey,
things
Andrea.
first. I
The
want
Borges thing is awesome. Yeah.
it's.
Got the
anyways,
realist?
I've got 2 pages on that that I have reduced to bullet points.
Oh my gosh. I want to hear y'all say the name of this book.
Piranesi. It's an Italian name.
Okay.
It is an Italian name. It is Piranesi, and I was at one point saying Piranesi because it was just easier because that's a more anglicized translation of it. Piranesi.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
And,
in my
those of
head,
you-
time zones. in my head, I was just saying Piranesi, because that would be how it would be pronounced here if you weren't Italian.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I read it out loud in my head, if that makes any sense.
So I'm very curious for those that did the audiobook.
What did you think of
AKA
Choose
the
a
two
Life
people
Lord?
that are on the top of my screen. How, like, I'm very curious about how the narration was for this.
I liked it. Like, the British, a British voice actor. I don't know whether that made any difference or not, but apart
Well,
from
the character's
like,
supposed to be English, I think, so that makes sense.
their really bad attempt at some voice acting for different characters sort of drew me out a little bit, but it's like the first audiobook I've listened to, so that might just be a me thing.
I
Go ahead,
overall
Emily.
enjoyed his delivery. I thought it was fine. I thought it worked, but I also read the physical copy along with the narration just because it helps me retain a lot better.
Right.
And also, like, there are certain words that I'll be like, I'm sorry, what is that? How does that? Especially some of the architectural terms. I was like, well, I didn't know what the hell that was. I have to Google that.
What's a vestibule?
Yeah. Like, specifically, what's the difference between a vestibule and a hall? Like why is one and one is the other?
Money.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
It's money.
Yeah.
I was hoping to read along with it, but by the time I got started last night, I just put on one of the face masks with headphones in it and laid down and listened to it with like...
That sounds like a very pleasant experience.
Basically, not so much almost meditative, but it just allowed me to get rid of every
Sensory
other outside
deprivation.
distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like if I know if I had had the audiobook up on screen and the and a book, a PDF of it up on screen, I still would have been looking at another screen with like YouTube or something on at the same time. And because I actually wanted to be able to go in with and contribute to this discussion as opposed to every other time apart from Dracula, I wanted to just focus on it and be able to take in as much as possible without having my ADHD distractions.
So what you're saying is you're on a 9-month streak of books that you've been engrossed in.
Yep. Doing it.
That's accurate. That is accurate. It is
Technically correct.
Which is the best.
I'm interested if you're going to go back and revisit it with a physical copy, because there are some elements to it that you definitely need the physical copy for. I am certain that
Or the visual, whether it's a digital.
the visual,
Yeah, I mean-
basically just the not so random capitalization of words.
Okay.
Like,
Because I do want to go back and revisit it and read it. Not so much for that, although that is something now that I'll keep an eye on. But we'll get into it once we get into it.
Oh, we can get into it now. I don't think there's a reason.
that's
not
the
to.
whole point that we're supposed to. That's what we're doing. That's why we're here. Hey, look, book club.
Again, because Sola and JD have so much knowledge on it, probably starting with Emily or myself and our takes on it, we can then be corrected and have our points
I am
dissected
super
and
interested in everybody's different impression of it, because it is.
Yeah.
I will just kind of. It deals a lot with isolation, with just a whole boatload of stuff to do with that, and so much of it is how the reader applies it.
Yes, like anything that you can interpret from this book, there is an option, I think, to interpret that. Like, there's just so many allusions and kind of like pseudo metaphors. Like, is this actually alluding to this particular thing? Is this calling back to, like this theory or this? You know, there's a lot going on and a lot that you can take from this book.
What the reader gets going into this book and coming out of this book is exactly what characters that go to the house bring or find in the house, and it's only what they take with them.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a Luke Skywalker going into that little cave.
It took me a second to realize what you're saying there, but yes, that is absolutely one of the points I was going to make in terms of myself. And we'll get into that.
So I have a
what
question.
the other versus what Piranesi himself get from the house. The other gets nothing because it basically it's there as a raider, as a
Exploiter.
exploiter. Yeah, there we go.
So I have a quick question. What did y'all think when you first started reading it? If you can even remember, especially for those of you who, you know, it's been a minute since you've read it.
9 months or so.
When I first started, like the first few pages, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, did I miss something? And I was like genuinely concerned. So I was like, am I too stupid for this book? Like already? Because I was like, is this all
Absolutely.
What is happening?
in
Yeah.
some flowery kind of like metaphorical speech? Like, oh no, this is we're
Poetic.
actually in a
Yeah.
house. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I just want
The
to
house
read
with the
a
flooded
couple of quick.
floor and the clouds on the third floor. You know.
So I just want to read a couple of quick sentences tied to what Sola just said a minute ago, which is, the house is valuable because it is the house. It is enough in and of itself. It is not the means to an end.
Yeah.
Damn it! I was going to use that line too.
Fuck it.
Davey's right up there. He's I know why you recommended this book. I'm glad that you did.
I hadn't read it. I had not
You were
read it.
interested in it, but
Yeah, I was
it-
just like,
it-
oh, I heard this is good. I put it as one of all 4 books that I threw up there I had not read. And yeah, I'm very glad that I included it. It was, you know, as we've said a couple of times, like what you get out of it is what you bring into it. And what you interpret as, like, none of it is direct allegory.
Mhm.
It's all applicability
Mhm.
to steal Tolkienisms. It's
Yeah,
all
I mean,
just
it's
like you
appropriate.
get out of it how you want to interpret it.
Yeah.
It can be a metaphor if you want it to be a metaphor. It can be an example if you want it to be an example. It's just a really good, a well put together without being too cemented in something, I think.
It's beautifully crafted. The craftsmanship is amazing.
Nice.
And I think as well.
I'm sorry,
The
your
when
hand
of
is
it.
out of frame, so that's why I think. Did you have your hand raised? I didn't see it.
Yeah, I did. I
Okay,
have
sorry.
my hand raised.
Sorry.
I saw it.
just for time zone, so I'm not breaking in on people and stuff. Yeah, like I started reading the PDF version back when we were going to do it. I was gifted a version, and yeah, I started reading it and I loathed it. Like, I was glad that it got delayed because I was like, thank fuck for that.
It's going to be
And
another
even-
one I bounced off of.
In
And
fairness, I had the same impression with the first couple of pages. I
Yeah.
was like, "What did I get
I
these
just-
people to read?"
I just put it away. And even after finishing the audiobook and thinking about the books I've got for suggestions, I'm just like, I like pulp. I'm too dumb for these sort of books. Even though I like Sophia's World and those one, or Sophia's Choice. I always get that mixed up. And yeah, the audiobook, it took me until the first section, essentially halfway, when the whole exposition of Laurent Vincent came in. and like that entire, once that hit, I was in.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's all in straightforward prose, because it's the
Yes.
language
but
of
it also
that character as they're writing that part of the journey.
Yeah, and it also cemented what I had originally thought, because the first bits with the vegetables and the flooding and stuff, I'm like, okay, well, this is obviously all fake. Like, it's just bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or this is not our world.
yeah, and once the Laurent Vincent stuff happened, or discussion came in, I'm like, okay, if I think about Persona 5, it makes sense that it's essentially just a mind palace.
Mm-hmm.
With
I thought that for a while. I was like, okay.
When it was initially talking about, oh yeah, I've gone 517 hallways this way and 300 hallways to the north and stuff. It's like, okay, that is no physical building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's a mind palace, then it makes total sense. And so once I thought about that, a lot of the end stuff started it came into view before it came into view.
Yeah.
Like, I understood where we were heading. I didn't pick up on any of the isolation points, and I think that's just because I've been working from home for the last 3.5 years quite happily, and the only time I see anyone is when I go to the shops.
So I don't think that the isolation would have hit so much home if not for the birds and the dead, because those are sort of like existing creatures in a sense, you know. Even the dead were like people to him, you know.
Presence by absence.
Yeah, but they weren't interactive, you know. It wasn't a two-way kind of situation. Even the birds, even when he got a lot of things from the birds telling him stuff like, oh, they're saying I should, do this, or they're warning about this, or this is what the albatross means, this is what the owl means. It's inferring a lot of things from these, kind of symbolic things, like creatures.
Some of those things are just behaviors that
Yeah.
birds do with storms coming.
And it just hit, like, that was what made me feel more of the isolation, was the fact that he was trying to communicate with other entities because he didn't have anybody else.
The part near the end, and he's like, oh, how did you know the flood was coming? And he goes, oh, the birds told me. I'm like, oh, you talked to the birds? He's like, you did too.
Yeah.
I saw,
Yeah. Piss off.
Yeah, you just told them to piss off. But like it's like, oh yeah, that is what they're doing.
I think also for me, the biggest takeaway, or the biggest thing that reinforced stuff and goes to Booya's point about you get out of the house what you bring into it, was at the ending when he was talking to 16 and was like not believing the stuff about out there with like, are there more than 70 people?
Yeah.
'Cause that's the biggest number.
Yeah, it's an inconceivably high number.
Yeah.
And to me, that went back to a thing that I've long, like, even back to when I was a teenager, thought about. And it's the idea of when you're in a room and the door's shut and, like, you've got windows closed, there's no proof anything else exists outside that room. Like, you have memories of it, but
yeah, the relative reality,
like and
perception is reality.
And when you're asleep, like when we are right now, why is this not the dream? And when we're asleep, that's not reality.
So that's something that I was reading afterwards, just kind of like looking up, like Piranesi explained. That was one of the things.
Please just tell me all of the things.
I wasn't smart enough to do that.
One of the things that they pointed to was essentially like conceived realities. Like that was one of the things that it really drove home was the house was his only reality. But especially when he got back onto the other side, everybody saw it just as like, oh, he had a mental breakdown. This is all due to, mental stresses, and this was just sort of his hallucination reality situation that occurred.
Yeah, or when he speaks to, I think it's like a security guard or a janitor or something near
And
the
he
end.
sees
like,
them
he's like, oh yeah,
the sculpture.
I was in a house with a whole bunch of, he's like, and you can almost see the guy's brain go, nope, that's not real. So it must have been something else.
Yeah.
Like you can see his brain automatically go, let's turn this into an explanation that works with my perception of reality.
And there was another point where he was reading his old journals, like Matthew Rose Sorensen's journals, and where he said, I looked and
Somebody
I looked.
needs to check on Matthew, make sure
I know,
that he's
right?
not in the house right now.
I looked and I couldn't get my eyes to understand what it was reading. And eventually, after I subjected it long enough, like I figured out the words, but
which is what we all did with the book.
Yeah.
In fairness.
Yeah. It's also it's a lot like that, like the theory.
Like, oh, this is gobbledygook ridiculous. Oh, now I get it.
I mean, yeah, I see it a lot like that theory that the entire Batman universe is just what's going on inside Bruce Wayne's head after Bruce Wayne had a mental breakdown and was put into an asylum. And the Joker is the doctor he sees and stuff like that. And
same with the Rugrats
that is the
theory,
Yeah. It's like if your whole reality is just this thing you see and you need a way to make sense of it, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense that you would start putting in what you're seeing in real life into what you're seeing in your reality.
Yeah.
So having the people around him be sculptures because he's seen them all that time, so often, but they're in the past, so they would be sculptures because.
So, do you think that's another question? And Sola, we haven't really given you a chance to speak, so you answer this first. What do you see the statues as being?
I'm coming at it from a couple of different angles, not just like basically it's tying together the house as the physical incarnation or the otherworldly incarnation of a memory palace that's being put together. The statues basically being sort of iconographic representations of different things that still have connections with the real world. As we know from the reading, there are statues that he's encountered in the real world later, that he has seen. I think that there's a lot to it in terms of where they are and what plane of consciousness the house exists in, what plane of reality the house exists in, that defines it. So the sculptures and the statues are physical representations of real world concepts and definitely have more gravitas, more weight, obviously, than just being statues. I mean, the importance that he applies to each and every one of them, the stories that he creates for or thinks about in relation to them, has
the words that he applies to them,
yes,
the messages that he gets from them.
While we were talking about all of that, all I could think about while you guys were having that conversation is that transition that he talks about in his journals, by the by, from dated journals to his new dating system.
Yeah, based on direct interaction within the world.
But there's this one throwaway line where it's like, I don't know what happened 2,000 years ago. Why am I writing that date?
Yeah.
But yeah, that all ties into the nature of the place as even though it has its own patterns and rhythms and stillnesses and storms, it exists outside of what it's basically, given what we know about the author and what she was seeking, what it is actually on par with the realm of dream. And I'm talking Neil Gaiman's Dream. I'm talking Sandman Dream. And it is obviously an alternate world, but what kind of an alternate world? Is it one that just exists in the mind? Is it whose mind palace is it besides Lawrence's? But
Yeah, well, I think that's part of what makes it so interesting and what lends itself to being able to apply to each reader differently.
Absolutely.
Is that the only explanation that we get is a hypothesis from somebody who is a bad person, like an objectively bad person.
Well, how many people that we meet in this book are objectively bad people? We meet
right.
right. We meet the raiders. We meet the people who aren't connecting with the world at the same. And even Matthew Rose Sorensen, when he is brought there,
Right. He's not a quote unquote pure person.
But
the question I have is, what is everyone's idea, or what do you think that the floods represent? Because the floods occur at a specific time, like they have a regularity to them. So I'm just wondering what people think.
I would say has a lot to tie together with Moonlight and Dream and the thought of the subtext and the subconsciousness of your minds and all of that. What is the water itself? It's not just coming in from the coastline of the UK, although is it? But tumbling in through a hole in the bottom of the ocean kind of thing, or a hole in the bottom of somebody's mind with a recollection of it. So again,
the memories literally come flooding to him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, I didn't take them, that's because of the regularity of them, I didn't actually take them as being memories. I took it as being an injection of some sort, that he was being drugged in some way.
I think that it was the amnesia.
Yeah,
like every time the
ebb and flow
out,
of it's just gonna wash away like a sandcastle.
Yeah,
with the new tide.
Like he couldn't hold on to essentially his past self because he was being eroded constantly by the isolation of the place, the waves of the place.
To the point where he can never reconcile it.
Oh my god.
His brain just goes, no, that's just, he's there, he's asleep. We'll just put him, he'll just be asleep for a while.
I'm jumping around a little. But I was not ready for the way this book ended. The whole new person. Like an entirely
just
new
like, no,
entity.
I'm who I am.
I was like, oh no, he didn't get better.
Trauma be like that sometimes.
You know what?
And this book being about, in many ways, about isolation and trauma and empathy, is that's a valid conclusion to it. It's like, there is no magic fix for you.
No.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't have gotten the memories coming in and being washed away from the flood because of him jumping above the flood and holding on to the sculpture's knee, like nestling into the sculpture's knee and watching the flood come in and go out. Like, I could see them being the memories of potentially the person whose mind palace it was, because he had gone into a different dimension, essentially, or into another world.
Possible.
To me, that meant he wasn't in his own head. He could potentially have been in someone else's mind palace.
Fair interpretation.
Yeah,
because
never saw it as a mind palace. I saw this like as this is an alternate plane of existence. Like this is not it's not something that somebody concocted or dreamed up or anything. This is
Okay.
like that is how I saw it.
That's how I saw it too. I can really see this going. It's just total eye of the beholder kind of a setting.
That's this whole book in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I think I had jumped to Mind Palace purely because of playing like Persona games and loving Persona games, and that being the entire concept about like Persona 5 is going into the Mind Palace and stealing the treasure of the person whose mind you're in to change them into a different person.
Yeah, and physical representations of
desires and things. Yeah. And so
Very
that's where
Inception.
my head went, but
yeah, it's very much Inception. Many dream.
Many incepts, yes.
Yeah.
But I do see the possibility of the water being consciousness, but not necessarily Matthew Rose Sorensen's consciousness, but all.
So
Like
and that's
humanity.
exactly, and that's the
Humanity.
other thing. I was thinking that some of the statues like evoked maybe some of our, I don't know,
Stories.
greatest accomplishments, our stories, our books, our histories, even our fantasies. Like different statues were different things that were created from the consciousness of humanity, and maybe that's what the tides are. Maybe they just
How many
wash
stories
in.
never get written down?
Yeah. So
Where do
that's an
they all
interesting
go?
point.
They go here.
It's an interesting point Grudges make, and I wonder if having that perspective would makes the book easier to read, harder to read, different to read.
I mean,
no. So
all right, we'll absolutely get more into that. I've got some other
Pages of
thoughts
notes.
for that,
Pages.
of notes, literal pages of notes,
well,
physical and digital. But
made it
I want to
easier.
talk about the
Yeah.
title.
Okay. Yep.
It's a good title. Or
Did
the
anybody
name.
look up the name?
Yep.
Master
Did it
of Labyrinths?
clarify for anybody?
Of Prisons?
Yep.
So for those in the stream, especially those who haven't read the book, Giovanni Battista Piranesi, 18th century artist. Big shocker here, Italian. Famous for two types of artwork, all etchings. So in his older years, he did etchings of the abandoned, overgrown ruins of ancient Rome, which pretty much directly sparked the neoclassical period of art. So, the U.S. Capitol building, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you look in the book, and clearly that's a huge inspiration for the architecture of the house in the book.
Yeah.
And the other thing is his etchings of cavernous prisons, inspired by malaria-induced hallucinations when he was in his 20s.
And most appropriately, things that would not have existed in the real world, because Italian prisons at the time were tiny, cramped cells.
Right. They were huge, cavernous, multi-room.
Multi-tiered.
You might think of it as like a D&D dungeon with like staircases that go all over the place. And
MC Escher does D&D dungeons. Like
Yeah.
that's...
yeah,
He's just copying Piranesi.
basically. And they've been used and referenced a lot. Like this isn't the first time that those things have been referenced and used as inspiration for a lot of things. As visually, I think one of the things that might be worth it is if somebody watches certain classic monster movies in October, they might get some visual touches
Similarities, kind of.
that may go, oh, okay, that feels similar. But it also was a direct inspiration on a lot of the writing that those movies are based on. So your Frankensteins, your Draculas, your stuff like that. A lot of the
Those are
descriptions of
Franco.
they directly used a lot of that artwork as inspiration for
Very cool.
writing what the insides of those castles were like and whatnot.
Learning so
Hey,
much.
we're here for book spoilers, not movie spoilers.
What? No,
We're
no,
talking
no. This
Gothic-
is
we
just
read
general.
Dracula already.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
read
it's
Dracula.
general, like the
Gothic
aesthetic, right?
literature spoilers.
So, what I would like to say, and this is a little bit of a transition here with the name still, when specifically asked why Piranesi in the book, Ketterly says that the name is associated with labyrinths. It's a very key word in the book. It's used by, I think, at least 4 people use the word labyrinth. None of Piranesi's works are called labyrinths.
Yeah.
So what immediately jumped to my head, and I wasn't sure if Sola already knew it, but I'm not shocked that Sola already knew it, was a short story by an Argentinian author.
The House of Asterion.
It's like 3 pages. Read it when you get a chance. It's called The House of Asterion.
Yep.
Does anybody, for bonus points on the quiz that we're not having, know who Asterion is?
Not a pretty vampire boy.
Damn it!
I
This
know who
might change.
Asterion is.
This might change your interpretation of Pretty Vampire Boys.
Oh no. Okay, go on.
Asterion is the classical Greek name given to the Minotaur.
And the house that is the Minotaur's
It's his
house.
actual name. Like his mother names him Asterion,
Oh. Okay. Okay.
which
What? Okay.
means Star Child,
Well, that's so sweet, and I love that.
right?
To be
So,
fair, the whole
and
Minotaur
fun fact.
story is real sad. Like
We're gonna get there. Oh, we're
Okay,
getting there.
sorry.
We're gonna get
So
we're gonna
the
get there
book-
because
Or the short story, The House of Asterion,
Okay.
is a lovely portrayal of the story of the Minotaur told from his perspective.
Oh, well, I'll have to read that.
it is even more closely tied
So
to Piranesi as
Yes.
like
Well,
this is why
I've got some bullet points here.
like
It's a-
dating
it's a
amazing.
book.
In
I
this
have
short
short
story,
Thunder.
I've got my
Not
notes.
Thunder.
So
I'm the one who teaches
it's told
Boris.
from his first person perspective. He's constantly referring to the labyrinth as his house, with its many rooms, pools, and courtyards. He spends his time in solitude, sometimes pretending that the other Asterion has come to visit for an excitable tour of his house so he can get to show somebody all of his favorite rooms. Asterion compares the vastness of his house with the scale of the universe. It is, after all, his whole universe. He suggests that it's possible he even created it and forgot, as he's been there his whole life. The people outside of his house typically don't understand him, and occasionally someone will come in and he excitedly tries to surprise them, and they attack him for it.
Oh.
He hopes one day for a redeemer that will take him away from his house to show him more of the outside world. The book ends with not Asterion's voice, but Theseus's voice. Where
Oh.
Theseus says, "Would you believe it, Ariadne? The Minotaur scarcely defended himself."
It makes me so sad. He's just a big bull boy. He don't know no better.
Right.
So,
I immediately
So-
clung
okay.
to my memory of that short story when I was reading this book.
okay, why? Hold on. Why call him Piranesi and not Asterion? Whatever.
That might be a little too on the nose, and
Fair enough.
I'm sure that there's inspiration
Yeah.
from a few different things, right?
Fair enough.
I also think that it has to do with who named him.
That's accurate. Ooh,
Because
And
it
that was-
wasn't.
you guys.
If he had named himself, he might have named himself that. But no, he was given the name, right?
Yeah. Buy some bad
And-
guy. Bad guy.
That kind of then wraps back into what you were saying about the fact Piranesi, none of his work is considered labyrinthian. But the thing that I remember most about Minotaur, apart from the battle with Theseus, is the Minotaur's maze, which mazes are kind of labyrinthian.
I mean, yeah,
Exactly.
for sure.
Straight up.
Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. One more. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have to say this before I forget again. I see your quote back in the back. Be comforted. I love that. I love that.
You are a beloved child of the house. Be comforted.
Mhm.
All right, Sola, you be teacher for a minute. What points do you have?
We went off on that little side tangent there about Jorge Borges, and that there is an interview that I'm looking for just to refresh myself that Susanna Clarke gave, where she talked about her influences, and some of them are listed right in the very, like, I don't know if anybody took a look. Go back to your book, take a look at that first page, and look at the two quotes that are given to you.
Oh, the magician's nephew.
The Magician's Nephew and something by Dickhead Number One.
Oh, now hold on. Dickhead number 1.
Lawrence Higher Sales.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Dick.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're correct. That is the proper. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So, Narnia.
Yeah.
With the line about sorry, let me go right back to the very beginning. Yeah,
I'm so happy
All
you
right.
said a boat and sorry like back to
Yeah.
back. It was great.
I am the great scholar, the magician, the adept who is doing the experiment. Of course, I need subjects to do it on. Yes, which is a line from The Magician's Nephew, which was one of the things that, like, Susanna Clarke took a huge amount of inspiration from both the Library of Babel by Borges and The House of Asterion by Borges. As a matter of fact, this book has its roots in a short story she started writing 30 years before she finished this one, where she was writing
compared to our other book, this is a short story.
It is
This is a short story.
That is true.
This is a short story. But yes.
Sorry. Sorry, I'll
it was
speak
like
your native language. Sorry.
Sorry.
huge novel. Anyways, long story short, too late, a boot. The inspirations for it basically has a lot to do with The Magician's Nephew, specifically the city of Charn, where you encounter the White Witch of Narnia, and Ketterly is a character in that, or a Ketterly is a character in that as well. Andrew Ketterly is the hedge like the magician in Point. He's the uncle. He's
Gotcha.
the magician in Point.
The
So
magician's nephew's uncle.
Yes. I love you. I'm just saying. But yes. So there are tie-ins with that, and in The Magician's Nephew, the Palace of Charn is much like the house, except in ruin and desolation. And Susanna Clarke, when she thought about the beauty of that isolation and the strange comfort you can take from it is part of what inspired that. But again, the base bones of the idea of the house came from the House of Asterion in the Library of Babylon, the Jorge Borges thing. There's a third writer that also led to that, and I will go look at my notes because I have them here. Yeah, the world of the house is technically supposed to be on the same map as Charn, and also the Wood of the Worlds from the same novel, which is a place with pools, each pool going to a different place, each pool going to a different reality. But the other one was Owen Barfield, who was another one of the Inklings, the group of writer friends for Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, who had this concept of how ancient societies interacted with the world in an entirely different way. One that is very much the idea of how ancient societies existed in Piranesi and the way that they would interact with nature and whatnot.
Story based, very story driven.
Exactly. They did not feel alienated from the world. They were participants with it, with the story, with the flow, with the ebb, as opposed to what we are now, where we're cut
Fighting
off.
it.
So,
real quick, while you were talking about her other novel, so this is Piranesi, however you want to say it, and this is her other book.
I
haven't
when
read
I
it
made
yet.
the hand gesture, when I
do
went
intend to
went
read it, but I have not read it yet.
It's quite good. I liked it.
I heard good stuff.
Was it a mini series or just a?
Yep, there's a BBC miniseries.
Yeah, I watched it and I was like, okay, I'm impressed.
What was the name of it? Because I was watching the reversed version.
No.
Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell.
Yeah.
It takes place in an alternate Regency England, and two magicians who start off as allies and become rivals, and
some fae shit goes down. It's great.
Fae shit goes down, you know.
No, these are real magicians. Like, this is an alternate, so where like they used actual magic in like wars. It's wild. I love like alternate.
Sounds fabulous. Yeah.
Seen the Netflix series? Yeah.
It is
good to know.
Quite good.
Great link, by the way.
Yeah. Like that.
I have to go look at the link.
So I've got a little bit of blurbage,
Absolutely.
Because I was just trying to like process and kind of synthesize, especially after the second reading and recalling House of Asterion in detail, and I kind of wrote a little bit down. If it's okay for me to just kind of say it out loud.
Absolutely, and you're doing due diligence. This is good critical thinking, critical reading. This is perfect.
Well, praise me after I'm done. Praise me, Book Daddy.
That's now an official title.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought that was his title. I'm surprised it's not on the screen.
Yeah,
I'm surprised it's not
his
just
name
like
tag
Book
hasn't
Daddy.
come in yet. Yeah.
We need an emote. So this book works as a beautiful illustration of isolation and escapism beyond all recollection. It can be applied to anybody who's felt alone or isolated for long enough for whatever reason. I've seen it applied to COVID lockdowns in a couple of reviews. I've seen it referred to using the allegory of the cave from Plato. I've seen it referred to a whole lot of different things. But my personal overarching experience reading this book was through the lens of my autistic experience. In the world I experience and have always experienced, it is an autistic one. This can bring tremendous joy. I've got passions and interests of which I know every slightest detail. I would love to be able to give my wife a tour of something I deeply enjoy and to have her appreciate it on every level of excitement that I do. At the same time, the experience can be isolating. I feel at times disconnected from other people in the outside world. There are those who sometimes dehumanize it, seeing it as something to hide away or worse, to take advantage of. I won't go into further detail on that. I'll leave that as it is. But here I am. I've never known life not being autistic. I would not change it. It does not define me, but it is a part of me. I am who I am, a beloved child of the house.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you very much for sharing that.
All right, I'm gonna go cry now.
No,
you guys
we're
have a good time
fine.
talking.
We're totally fine. This is fine. This is fine. No, like,
Also,
I'm just gonna have a dino nuggie.
just have a dino nuggie. It's good.
proud
That
of
hit
you.
Thank you,
That
Book
hit
Daddy.
way
I
too.
praise you.
I praise you.
Yay, Book Daddy praised me. Can I have another dino nugget?
Yes.
Yes.
That hit way too close to home.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
Grot also
It's
mentioned
okay, I got my
earlier
new
that
meds.
it ties into recovery from trauma, ties into basically where you in conversation about the ending, especially where you end isn't necessarily what everybody wants, but it's who you are, and that is what matters. That's where the importance is, even if it breaks your own heart as well, because you're not who you wished you could be, which I think is also part of it. But yes,
Yeah, like it's a lens, right?
Okay.
Like it is just a way of like filtering and processing. I would imagine reading this book at different stages of your life would be
taking
vastly different.
so much different from it every time you read it, depending on what you're going through.
And it's short enough that it's
Yeah.
not intrusive to do so.
Yeah.
Now I know that JD has, but has anyone else looked up anything about Susanna Clarke with relation to this book?
No.
No.
Wait, I'm the only one?
Probably.
Not yet, but I knew we were coming to this. I figured
mean,
I'd
you're
get a
the
lesson of
teacher.
some of it.
Yeah.
I can't do all of it. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm shocked. I am shocked at a quarter of the class.
I guess I got an A minus.
That's what I do.
Well,
Shock
it would be
teachers.
a third of the class, wouldn't it?
You're not allowed to have an electro collar. That's, anyways.
Exactly. We knew you'd do it
Unless
for
you're
us.
into that.
So
Not without consent.
after, and actually during the completion of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, Susanna Clarke got very ill. She was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome after a while. It's kind of Ren-like, actually. And that compounded into a social agoraphobia as well, where she basically was writing this book about isolation, about interiors, about the insides of things while existing through the insides of things. And it was not an easy process for her. She had several difficulties with the writing of this very slender, in comparison with Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, book. And I'm not taking anything away from the strength or power of it by the slenderness of it. As a matter of fact, I think that works even better for it. I think that if this had been a long, that thick book, it would have been.
I think she got it perfect.
Yeah.
I think she did, but the process of getting there was long and painful and fraught with pain, and she talks about the experiences that she had and how she existed in that sort of a way, living inside, never with many people, because of the agoraphobia portion thereof, the social agoraphobia, like I said, not just agoraphobia, social agoraphobia. When she was around people, she
Social
felt
anxiety.
threatened.
Yeah.
Social anxiety, a lot of social anxiety. That period didn't last for very long, but it lingered in her recollection when she would be walking down the street and there would be people near her. It would make her think of that thing, which is sort of how this all got incorporated into the house and into Matthew Rose Sorensen's story and into that, which ties in again to Between the Worlds, again from The Magician's Nephew. And while she was writing this, she basically was thinking, she found a photograph of her that was basically a photograph of what her life was like. It was one of her best friends and somebody who would end up becoming her husband and a publisher that was a friend of hers. And this was before or while she was working on Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. The publisher sent a letter or message to the husband sent a message to one of his friends, a guy named Neil Gaiman, and just some guy who also wrote things that helped inspire
some TV producer,
Susanna Clarke. Yeah, some TV producer. Because there are elements of Sandman thought processes and dream and whatnot in her work, in this work specifically, because of how it ties into the way that memory and thought and dream and that alternate world of magic and that space between the worlds, they all exist. And her husband basically sent him a couple of notes saying, "Oh, she's not doing very well right now, but I think she might be writing something." And then sent another one a few weeks later and said, "She is writing something, and I haven't gotten to see it yet." And then sent another letter saying, "She has written something, and it's really good. And she's working on it, and I hope one day you get to see it." And this was sort of how she got her start with things, is that she got an email from a publisher, or a message from a publisher, who had gone to Neil Gaiman saying, "Do you have anything for this anthology that we need?" And him saying, "I have nothing, but I have this wonderful woman who's going to be big someday, and you should basically look at this," which is sort of one of the connections that it was. But I just thought that was just a really interesting thing, that in looking at that photograph of 4 people, that one of them who she was going to be married to that she didn't know yet, and how that ties to memory and recollection and how things don't necessarily work out the way that you think they are. All of that got tied into Piranesi.
Yeah.
Piranesi.
See, now that's actually more interesting than most of the stuff I took out of the book. I'll explain why. And I think it hits why I didn't get the isolationist stuff that everyone else did out of the book. Like, I got diagnosed with chronic fatigue when I was 17. And social anxiety is there. I'm more happy being at home. My reality, for the most part, is people online. It's video games. It's TV shows. It's not real people. And if I'm walking down the street, most of my attention is focused on whether someone's going to attack me, like keeping an eye on where everyone is around me, because of
vigilance.
Because of being in a home invasion, and so I'm more happy being at home and surrounded by the things and the people that I know I can trust, i.e. games, people online, TV characters, movie characters. And also with chronic fatigue, like, I'm almost half asleep right now. I got a good night's sleep. I'm still half asleep. I'm falling asleep pretty much every day at about 4:30 when I knock off work, or I will even take naps during the workday. So it makes it hard for you to feel comfortable going out and being around people because you're not giving them all of yourself. You may have to leave 5 minutes after you get there. You may feel uncomfortable driving or traveling to them because you feel unsafe because you might fall asleep. So chronic fatigue itself limits your social interaction, even though it doesn't limit you, just because of that always being in a half fog. And so, yeah, the fact that she came up with this idea while she was in the same thing that I've spent the last 35 years of my life in, hits a lot harder and explains, to me at least, why, I didn't get that isolationist point of view.
It's part of why I think this book reverberated the way it did with a lot of people is when it came out, when it was published, because people were experiencing that isolation for the first time. We haven't had a pandemic and a lockdown since the Spanish flu. So that degree of I am, with the exception of Knight, I'm assuming that everyone here had some major issues with being locked in for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I got used to it, but initially,
as has been pointed out by other viewers of your YouTube channel, you're basically someone that helped them get through that in a lot of ways.
So this is kind of, I'm sorry, this just sort of hit me. In the book, when he first makes it, or when he's first, essentially cast into the house and is trapped there, obviously he fights it. He is upset. He's raging. He's writes pages upon pages of hate towards the other. But then eventually he those memories slip away, and this is the new normal, and this is how it's always been, and this is the house, and
new normal, there it is.
I don't know, that hits a little different when you think about it like that.
Yeah.
Like you sort of forget what you did before because this is all you have, so you might as well make do with it and be happy with it, I guess. Ha ha ha.
There are elements in Piranesi, especially with regards to the other and how he treats Piranesi and how he's treated Piranesi overall, and how Piranesi is just a means to an end.
Yeah.
The end being the great and secret knowledge that he's seeking. The end being the that which has been forgotten, as Dick Number One says, as Lawrence Ire Sales says, that he's an anemologist, where he basically just he's a scientist, he studies what's forgotten. Amnesiologist. An amnesiologist, there we go.
He Matthew Rose Sorensen becomes forgotten in the world of what's forgotten.
But even more so is the identity of who Matthew Rose Sorensen is. And I'm shocked you're not wearing shells in your hair. I just realized that. Where's the shells in the beard that we talked about, my friend?
Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Okay, yeah.
I was. I'm the shells in your beard.
I'm sorry, I went for tweed and an anchor hat. I apologize.
You went quite well. It works well.
Oh.
But one of the small things about the character of Matthew Rose Sorensen is that he is a person of color. He is British Ghanaian. So the relationship, once again, that Ketterly and Lawrence Ire Sales, when they see him, they don't see him as fully human as well, because there is that British colonial racist thing going on as well.
I didn't pick that up. But, I
didn't either.
That hadn't hit me. I don't want to interrupt too much, continue with your thought otherwise, but I just noticed the discrepancy between what Grat thought and what Andrea thought or saw in the other. One Grat seeing
And saw God
potentially as the other.
God.
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely
Andrea
didn't want
seeing
that to go undiscussed.
The Old Testament God, and Grat seeing him as just another side of Piranesi.
I think that
Hobbesian perspective of humanity. There's a whole lot of other stuff that you can talk about.
I never saw, even in the early instances of the other, I never saw a godlike figure. I saw that he didn't, and I get that, Old Testament, he was kind of looking down on Piranesi as a less than creature, like because of the way he spoke to him, it was just not to appear, it was to a peon. But I didn't get a sense that Piranesi saw him as God.
Piranesi
did he
seems
see
to almost
himself?
treat him like a peer or an equal.
Yeah. The other probably saw himself as God, very much so. But I did not see him represented as that.
Master is definitely a word that would.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would fly in there.
If I was reading this, or in the perspective that I half was seeing it, in that he was a mental hospital patient. To me, the other would have been his psychiatrist potentially. In that, the one that hit me was when Piranesi wanted to talk to him tomorrow, and he's like, "I don't know, I'm not here tomorrow."
Yeah.
It's like, I'm here in a couple of days. Like, you can come and see me then.
Well, especially early on in the book, you can really see that, and he's dependent on Piranesi to explore and describe what he's seen.
Yeah,
like he can't go to these places.
And the only time he does anything for Piranesi is when it's to advance his plan.
Exactly.
Oh, you can't get there? You need shoes?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't even notice that you don't have shoes.
Yeah.
We're standing next to each other.
We do this twice a week. Like.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fact that he expects Piranesi to always be there for him, but he's only there for Piranesi on his own schedule, which, to me, with the whole, okay, we're inside Piranesi's mind palace, potentially it's in a mental hospital, and so this is a therapy session. Like, his own, when he sees the other, is the therapy session. The only thing that threw me from those thoughts was him hearing the outside conversations of people or seeing paper come through. So that was like he was in the street. But again, if he's in a mental hospital or a mental institute, whatever, potentially it's just other patients in the common room, for instance.
So that's interesting. I am almost immediately, as soon as we were introduced to the other and we saw like a different form of communication, just the way he talked, the certain things that he said, and how he dressed.
Completely different language,
it was like, oh, so we're just actually in this is another realm. Like, immediately, that was my thought. I didn't think that he was trapped in, like, his mind. I didn't think that it was, like, the psychiatrist, mental institute kind of situation. I immediately went to, oh, he's in another place. This is almost like an Underhill kind of situation. My question kept coming back to, is the other like an actual human, or are they like the entity that's placed them there, sort of just looking like a human?
An observer.
Yeah. That was my big question. So when y'all first read it, what did your mind go to? I know, Knight, you said you thought that it was kind of the superimposed dream, essentially.
I went blind, but I basically got the this is an adjacent world. This is something that's separated from our world by the thinnest of the margins,
alternate plane.
Fly through.
Yeah.
It is,
but that's also like that comes up in a lot of tabletop role playing games. Where you go into other planes, and so I mean that's really common in that kind of stuff. So
I have a question for you guys. About statues. So first off, what's the one statue you think of the most with regards to this?
So it should probably be the
fawn, the satyr?
Yeah. But for some reason, for me, it's the woman with the beehive. Like, that's the one I think of.
That's the one that lingers for me, too.
Yeah.
The one he hides behind.
Like...
We know who the satyr is. we know what that is. Out of all the statues in this book that she has described in so vivid terms, one of them is real. The gorilla is the only real statue.
Really?
That's correct. And you can find it, you can see it in an episode
Oh my God,
of a
is it
TV
Harambe?
series called Endeavor. She saw it in a TV series called Endeavor in an episode called Prey, and she liked it so much she put it in the book.
That's cool. Oh my God, we just split this wide open. So, okay, the house came into existence when Harambe was killed, and when the
Oh my God,
timeline
2016
diverged.
was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know whether it was me being in a half dream state while I was listening to it, but was there a section where the gorilla was actually a corpse, like the gorilla's bones?
Not that I recall.
See, that's
No.
the thing. When Sola mentioned the gorilla statue, my mind immediately went to remembering a section where he was talking about there were 10 statues lining up, and then the gorilla's bones at the end.
I
So,
don't recall that. I want to go back
that's
to
okay.
the
That just
description
might
of all the dead remains. But
That just might be me, but that's what I thought. Also, Sola, you're probably going to be the best one to answer this because I don't know if Booyah has played it yet. But after reading this and the love of Baldur's Gate 3, do you feel Emily might get something out of playing Planescape Torment?
Absolutely. I thought that a couple of years ago. I think that every time she starts talking and she gives the Dracula line from Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
That's the only thing.
I
know
thought you
from
were
that
just going to
game.
end it with every time she starts talking.
Every time she starts talking, it's
That's
just whoop.
That's a lot.
No,
No,
I'm just, yeah, I
You know
was
the
just
line that
thinking
does it.
Yeah,
okay. I want to circle back. We're talking about bones. Let's talk about the dead. Do y'all have any notes about the dead? I'll say that first.
I started
Can we
taking
bring them
notes about
out?
the dead, and I was like,
That's a lot of notes. That's a lot of notes. What would you like to talk about them?
So,
Talk to with regards to them.
did I miss it, or did we get? Were some of them identified? Like,
Some of them
Some,
were
but not-
peers.
Not all.
Not
of
all.
them.
yeah. So, but I mean, can we assume that a lot of those were sales as like victims, basically? Okay.
Or associated names.
Yeah.
Associated
At least some
names,
of them.
people from the group that the cult that he organized, and then we have to have the conversation about whether or not Sales is a serial killer.
He's a bad guy. We'll just see the very broad term. He's a bad guy. I also got a lot of like Crowley kind of
Yeah.
like vibes.
Yeah, there's a
right?
ton of Crowley-ness
Oh yeah,
involved there.
I love. I'm leapfrogging a little bit, but
you're allowed.
I love.
I mean, this book does that.
You're right. I love the way he treated them like with such reverence, and
They're the only dead he knows.
yeah, like
They're the only other humans he knows.
That
until-
sorry, that just fired a couple of neurons in the back of my brain too. Because we mentioned earlier that like, oh, he can't conceive of more than 70 people. Well, it's what is it the number of people that supposedly that humans have evolved to socially be able to keep up with is something around
Monkey
70.
sphere. Oh my God, we're referencing the monkey sphere.
Yeah. That
I
bubble
love
is
you.
something like 70 people
Fucking
that we're
nerds.
supposed to be able, that we've evolved enough to be able to actually care about.
Mhm.
And so going beyond that is impossible
yeah, it's
There is
It's
a.
absurd.
for him to conceive.
yeah.
I will discuss this because this is one of my favorite, very silly things to comment on, and JD knows it, so he knows about the monkey sphere. But this was a very interesting thing that a writer from Cracked on like the Cracked.com, Jason Pargan, the guy who wrote John Dies at the End, did this article about the social experiment or the psychological study of primate brains and how they are organized and designed to care about a limited number of other primates. That is what we can handle. For humans, it's around 120. For monkeys, it's around 70.
Okay.
Because they just upscaled the monkey brain. But beyond that, like, we can't care about the guy who does our garbage, who takes away our garbage.
Yeah.
Beyond
that, they become like the community, this nebulous kind of entity.
Beyond that, disasters are a tragedy versus...
If the daily life of that many people, if you actually, employed that volume of empathy, you would be overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like...
Let alone trying to remember it all.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I noticed on Facebook is I have like 50 people that I'm friends with on Facebook, which are people I know in real life for the most part, or know you guys. And then I have other friends who have like 1,500 friends. It's like, how can you have that many people? How can you keep up with that many people? Even from an empathetic point of view, out of that many people, you have to have way too many bitching about their lives or moaning about stuff.
Well, that's
that you're going to feel.
The algorithm doesn't even let you keep up with that many people anyway. It prioritizes.
But back in the day when it used to, it's like you can't know these people well enough that you can be letting them affect your life or your mindset. And I've never understood that. And maybe I'm hardwired to like less than 100 or to care about less than 120 people. But that is an interesting thing. And
I think that's Grot makes a really good point. They don't try to keep up with that many people. They just have a need to think that many people are reading what they share on Facebook. It's not very much what they are actually receiving from that number of people. It's
a perceived audience.
Which is
again,
a whole nother basket of weasels,
The thing that Grot said before that, it's like he can conceive of an infinite number of rooms and measurements and heights because people are complex.
Is it because people are complex, or is it because he's only known 15 people in his life, but he has been past so many rooms and vestibules and hallways and stuff that he knows that there is that there is potentially many
He's got the
more
room in his brain.
Yeah, well, because
to remember it, because he doesn't have to remember how each of everybody's day was.
So
no, but it's like if you're in a hallway and you see you've passed 30 other hallways going off or rooms going off, and you can still see to the horizon that the hallway continues going, you know that there must be more rooms coming off there. But if you've only seen and known of 15 people in your life, you have no conception that there can
There's
be
no
more.
evidence to suggest that there's millions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's also, how much care does he show these rooms? And how much care does he give the 15 corpses, the 15 bodies, the little girl, he wraps her bones in blankets. And make sure that
I got me.
That made you cry.
I got me.
That's a lot of stuff.
And then he's introduced to the 16th person, which blows every conceivable notion of reality out. Like that's mind breaking.
To the point where he can't stop referring to her as 16.
Yeah.
Even once he gets a name, and the name is significant as well when you stop and think about it. Because the name is the name of an angel.
Oh yeah, I forget about that. I was raised Christian. I should do better.
So two little things. Just sorry to kind of drop it. So one, I had a tiny little further note about Giovanni Piranesi.
Absolutely.
I just thought this was funny because I read a whole bunch of descriptions of his work and stuff, and the funniest one I read was just goth genius. I thought that was worth mentioning.
I appreciate that.
And the other one, the other thing was, this won awards, was up for a bunch of awards, and I was like, what did this lose to in the Hugo Awards? How did this not win the Hugo
Did you
Award?
look it up?
Yeah, Network Effect by Martha Wells ended up winning.
Oh,
What is that about?
I have not read it, but I just
It's
wanted
Martha
to say,
Wells.
hey, there was a book that was considered better than this that
All
year
right, well, I'll have to
in
look
the
I'm
into
going
that.
to-
sci-fi fantasy genre.
Oh, you like Martha Wells? Okay. All right, great.
I'm
I
going to
do.
assume it's
and
about the
it's
effect of
fifth book in a
networks.
series. It's the Murderbot 5 book, and the series is actually called the Murderbot series.
Oh.
So just figured I would give that pat on the back to Martha Wells, and like, yeah, this is a fantastic book, and
Can we?
It lost to the book that has a main character named Murderbot.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. This is the world we live in.
what do you
Those are
want?
a lot of fun.
The voters
and
to not pick
subtle?
Murderbot?
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the way we talk, 3 points. Do y'all have 3 points that you want to make? I guess everybody can get 1 point, or you can give your point over if you don't want to say something. I don't want to say anything, so y'all do it.
Oh, I see.
I
You're
know y'all
basically saying
y'all took notes, so we're coming up on time. So,
Yeah, I'll give over as well because mine would be way too simple.
we
bad.
pretty much talked about how
Doesn't make it less valuable.
Yeah.
the inspirational literature that she read beforehand, the Borges, the House of Asterion, super good, 3 pages. The Library of Babylon, again, which is a super. It is everything Borges writes is
You
like
can
a
find it
small
for free
jewel.
by Googling it. It's very straightforward.
It is very, very easily found. But even that,
Poop read.
her connection and her thoughts about the things that she pulled from C.S. Lewis, even, and we didn't really mention it, but the fawn is Mr. Tumnus.
Yeah.
But not the Mr. Tumnus from the movie, because that would just be weird.
Yeah.
He
He didn't have a scarf. It's fine.
didn't have a scar, but that's who it is. And the entire point of the novel that C.S. Lewis wrote that helped inspire this, with its The Wood Between the Worlds and the City of Charn and the ancient crumbling castles of room upon room upon room, was written entirely as a way to explain where the fuck that street light came from. The entire reason for The Magician's Nephew is to explain how that happened.
At one point later in the book, he says, when he's writing in his journal, he's talking about I start forgetting things, like what a street lamp was. And I was like, it's that's a very specific thing to call out.
The book is too
Thank you
short
for
to
catching
have
that.
accidental phrasing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There is very little accidental in like I said, when I said it's masterfully crafted, it is masterfully crafted,
Mm-hmm.
and you caught one of the things that is masterfully crafted as a reference to.
Is forgetting words like that though any different to forgetting Manchester, for instance, where I'm assuming he was probably from?
I mean,
Or Battersley or Police Box.
yeah. I mean,
Right, but they were all important things.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He remembers the word, but he doesn't know what it. He doesn't remember what it is.
Mostly
The
it was the fact
context is
that
gone.
the fact that the magician's nephew was mentioned in the very beginning, that I was like, that's why it hit me, because I was like, ooh, lamp.
Do we want to
Yeah.
do a poll of the next book club that will definitely happen someday?
She must be. I'm sorry.
I do believe the choice goes to Knight for this
Yes.
one.
And if you don't want to do it now, we can do it in the
No,
Do it in
I'm-
the Discord.
Discord later.
I have them up. I have the wiki pages up for all of them for synopsises. I know exactly which ones
Okay.
they are, and they will give a massive insight into me. Because
Before you say anything, did you throw
Neuromancer?
Jonathan Livingston's Seagull in there?
no,
Okay, because that
Did
one
you
I
just write
feel
Neuromancer 4 times?
But there is a Richard Bach book in there.
I thought I thought of you while I was rereading Piranesi because I could see connections that you could make with John Maloney's sequel and whatnot. But you chose Illusions, didn't you?
No, I didn't choose Confessions of a Reluctant Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, my choices, they will show a lot into me because they're from 1984 to 1990. Is the entire range of the years for them, but they all have.
Yes, we're old.
They all have deep personal meaning to me, so I won't be offended at all if anyone dislikes any of them. So the first one is one that I put in here because I know Emily has bounced off it because she said so, and I want to see whether time and becoming more involved in the cyberspace has changed her opinion potentially on it if we read it, and that would be Neuromancer.
Four times.
Neuromancer 4 times.
No. Neuromancer is 1984. There was 2 things in my this time in my life that impacted me. One was Top Gun, which made me want to become a jet fighter pilot. And when I found out I was too tall for the jet fighters that Australia currently had at the time, Neuromancer was also something I'd picked up and had been playing the Infocom video game of it. That's what got me to then read the book. And that just opened my eyes because Commodore 64 was around at that time. It opened my eyes to the potential that computers would have for society, the potential for enjoyment, for connection, because I didn't have that at school with other kids. And it was just, it just became what focused my life towards where I am now. So that one has the meaning for me. So there's that one. Secondly is Snow Crash, which
I was going to say
is basically a follow-on reasoning for Neuromancer. Snow Crash is from 1992, I believe. It's Neil Stephenson, and June 1992. Emily should love the protagonist's name in this, or the character's name of Hiro, Hiro, protagonist.
Hiro protagonist.
He is not just the main character.
Hiro, Hiro.
His last name is protagonist?
Yes.
Well, all right.
Here's the first line here is the first sentence from the Wikipedia summary. Hero protagonist is a hacker and pizza delivery driver for the mafia.
Sounds like he's got a lot of spare time.
He's also the best fighter in the world.
Yeah.
Wait, is this a Neil Breen movie?
Let me continue with the rest of I'll continue with the rest of the first paragraph summary. He meets YT, short for yours truly, a young skateboard courier with a K, who refers to herself in the third person during a failed attempt to make a delivery on time. YT completes the delivery on his behalf, and they strike up a partnership, gathering intel and selling it to the CIC. And then it goes. Then there's also
in their childhood, they found a magic rock together.
Mm-hmm. It was a magical day.
With this, there's also a lot of metaverse. There's a lot of metaverse issues in this as well. It expands further on. It expands further on the concepts that Gibson put forward about the Matrix, essentially. The 3 main pillars of early cyberpunk to me are Gibson, of course, Bruce Sterling. I thought about putting the differential engine on my list, but
good choice, though.
It just wasn't as impactful for me as these 2 and the other 2 I've got. There's that. The third one shows I think it shows a lot about me and where I am literarily. It's also from 1984. At that time, I had borrowed the Fellowship of the Rings from the school library because it's I'd been playing a lot of a lot of D&D at that time, and I'm like, oh, well, I should find out where it sort of came from. I bounced off the Fellowship of the Rings within the first 10 within the first 10 pages, I think. But going through one of the bookstores, I saw a book that was an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons book.
Pages of Hobbit lore to get through.
Yeah. This is the first book in the first trilogy, and it's Dragons of Autumn Twilight by Weiss and Hickman, and it's the first book in the Dragonlance Chronicles. It basically cemented my love of, I would say, probably pulp, action, D&D types, fantasy novels, which is why I enjoy movies like Krull the Conqueror and Cherry 2000 as well. Like, I like really bad, not so much, they're not bad.
Reference, nice.
I love Cherry 2000.
I'm not shocked now that I know that. But,
yeah. It's not so much that I like bad movies, it's that I like interesting movies, and I like to, one of the things Sola said earlier was critical thinking. For some reason, when I'm consuming media, I don't do a lot of it. But yeah, so Dragons of Autumn Twilight, I pretty much have read all of them. The fact it's a trilogy, I'm a little bit hesitant to suggest too much because you won't get, it's like the Fellowship of the Rings. It will end on almost a cliffhanger. And so you have to read the other two to really get the full story. I don't know if people have time for that, so that's one of the reasons I'm hesitant with that one.
No, but you can throw it out as something love.
It is one of those novels that I love, and had, again, a deep impact on me in terms of the things I enjoy in media. And the final one is the Richard Bach novel, which is One.
Okay.
Which for me, it was between One and Bridge Across Forever. But Bridge Across Forever, I think, is too much of a love story for Emily to enjoy based on her movie preferences.
Thanks.
Whereas this one is kind of a love story in that it's essentially about the author and his wife, but it involves quantum physics and going into all of the various timelines of, like, the timeline where they met and they wed, or the timeline where they met and went their separate ways and what happened in their lives.
It's like Everything Everywhere All at Once, or what?
So I'll just read a couple of bits from the synopsis.
Or the Futurama box where it's got a universe where
paradox.
All the coin flips go the other way.
Yeah. In this alternate universe version of their lives, they do not wed, neither finds the happiness that they've achieved in their actual life. In another universe, they find a world with a war where they're both pilots in non-violent war games. In a trip to the past, they meet Attila the Hun. In another world, they meet a saint who's discovered the meaning of life, but immediately burns the evidence, knowing that it would only cause division and ultimately holy war. This one has actually been, I've kept in my car for the last 3 years just so I have something to read if I'm on a trip
while you're driving,
bored or. So yeah, there's a lot of things. Publishers Weekly.
I don't know. Traffic could be really bad.
Under the spell of quantum physics, Bach and his wife Leslie are catapulted into an alternate world where they exist simultaneously in many different incarnations. These little homilies can either be uplifting or mightily boring, depending on the reader's point of view. So again, so they're the four that mean a lot to me in forming who I am now, forming my job choices, my interests. And so I thought it would be interesting to see other people's reactions to them, given I've poo-pooed things that other people have loved. So I wanted to give options where people may or may, like, I'm sure One could be potentially very divisive because of that. Cyberpunk, not so much. Snow Crash, just with the character's name, could throw a lot of people off.
I've heard very good things about Snow Crash, and it's been on to be read for a while.
To be fair, I haven't liked.
Read.
Yeah, I haven't liked any of Stevenson's other books apart from Cryptonomicon. So take that for what you will.
Diamond Age?
No. I stopped reading. Pretty much stopped reading his stuff after the first book. I didn't enjoy because, as a friend told me when I was hate playing the last D&D game, not Baldur's Gate, the Dark Alliance 2. Life's too short to play or read or watch shit you don't enjoy.
Yep.
So once I didn't enjoy something, it's like, yeah, I'll wait and see reviews. But if the reviews are, it's the same as his last, or as good as his last book.
Okay. Can somebody write down the?
I've got them written down.
Okay, bless you, because I was.
So yeah, and Neuromancer, I know Emily bounced off the first time, so I wouldn't be surprised if she bounced off it the second time. But I thought it would be a good exercise in seeing how getting more involved in the space potentially may have changed her opinion on it or not.
I'm going to be completely 100% honest and transparent. I'm really hoping for either the cyberpunk or post-cyberpunk novel because I've taught them.
I've already got those notes.
I've got notes on Neuromancer. I just reread.
Oh, let me just hand you my tweet jacket.
And I just reread Snow Crash not that long ago too. Yeah, it's both of them are delightful. Snow Crash is both more esoteric and more action-filled.
Right.
It's very smart.
Esoteric action.
All right. Okay.
It is very
Those are
smart.
both words.
It will do something and it will break your fucking brain. It breaks your fucking brain because it makes you think about your brain.
I mean, I
Not
will also
necessarily your
say
brain on drugs.
that Snow Crash and Neuromancer both instilled the idea and the desire to be able to jack into the internet with a connection in my head. in the way that, like, if it was anyone but Elon,
the same place at the same time.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I said it, I'm like, but yeah, like if it was anyone but Elon Musk, I would be signing up for being one of the first for the trials for the internet connection in your head that he's proposing as well. But the thing is that both Neuromancer and Snow Crash show the potential problems with that from fucking 40 years ago, that people were thinking about these ideas of what can happen when you have the fringe groups of computing and you give them free rein to your head. And so that to me is a really both of those books both are really good for exploring what could potentially be happening now, as much as they were. This is what we have to look forward to in the future. Yeah, as I said, Dragonlance Chronicles. I don't expect it would be picked just because it's first of 3. So essentially, you have to read the 3, but it is one of those. I did think about putting in a biography as well, but yeah, I went with 1.
Okay. All right. Well, is the poll up? Oh, dagnabbit. Sorry.
I'm not going to look at the poll. I'm going to wait and see.
Oh, did you want me to create a poll?
Well, I'm sorry.
I didn't create
Yes,
one.
I'm sorry.
You just asked me to write things down.
Sorry. Can you not read
And
my
I
mind
thought you
at
were
this
going to
point?
throw it out to. I thought you were going to throw it out to the Patreon crowd.
Or do we?
No,
or,
this
or
one's
Discord
just,
in general.
This one's just.
Yeah, we've always done these
Yeah,
in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Been so long, Sol has forgotten how we do stuff.
I know.
I know, it's been 9 months since we last did this thingy.
Well, one of us had to have a baby.
I hope Knight doesn't bounce off of this book. Just kind of turn that into a 10-month streak.
Yeah. Oh.
The book
I did-
that Knight chose. I totally hated it. I couldn't finish it, and it was filled with all.
I mean,
the
who
worst
names that
things.
character hero protagonist?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm kind of hoping neither of the first two get chosen, just so I can actually have some discussion that Solar may not already know. Because otherwise, it's just going to be Solar being teacher again, and me just going, "Yeah, that's right. Yep."
I'm okay with having teachers. I am not the teacher. I shall never be the teacher. I know this, and I am a-okay with that.
Where do you want this poll appearing? And I'm trying to remember how to do
On
polls
Twitch.
again. Wow.
I can.
Yes, but
I
which
can do
channel?
it. No, here live.
We're only in one
We're
channel.
doing
on
it live.
Twitch.
In the Speechy channel. Yes, that's all.
Doing it live.
I'll see if it works on the media channel. I'm not sure if it does.
Not in Discord.
Do it on Twitch.
That is absolutely good. Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, my brain just totally disconnected.
I don't even know.
Was it in another world?
It
Sorry,
was
Grant,
in another world.
I hadn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to tune into the Twitch stream if you want to pick the next book. That's the rule.
Sorry, Grant, I hadn't actually been reading this, but I played D&D. I started playing D&D when I was 9 with the first red box set. And so, yeah, I hadn't even heard of Tolkien until I was in high school.
Let's see. Okay, give me a second.
And if you... I just didn't write down the books because I'm a failure. I can make the poll if somebody drops the book.
Neuromancer.
So Sola's got the list
Okay.
written down and is doing
I'm basically doing the. I'm doing it.
copy
right
and
now.
paste your own list into a poll and.
Sorry. Y'all, I hate
Yeah, the fact Emily loved Flash Gordon, like, you are not a critical friend. That's great.
I mean, if you don't love Flash Gordon, you don't love movies.
I mean,
Yeah, pretty much.
you just hate a good time. That's what that is. You just hate fun. Like,
Now I just need you and Matthew to watch Inframan, which is Inframan is like Hong Kong Flash Gordon.
oh, okay. That's all I had to do. I'm sold, baby. Let's watch that. Stat.
Oh, I'm
What
sorry.
about,
If you make a Hong Kong Power Rangers Flash Gordon
Yes.
movie,
Done.
What about Reno?
Hard sell.
Reno, Unarmed and Dangerous.
I'm going to pause just for a second. Emily, do you want to have additional votes, and how long would you like the poll to be up for?
Just the 4 that we had should be fine. And let's
No,
go.
I mean, do you want people to be able to spend channel points to get an additional vote if they want to spend them?
Sure. Why not?
All right.
And let's go 2 minutes. I think that should be plenty of time.
Okay. I was going to do 3, but 2 is good, and the poll has started. What should we,
Ghost in the Shell, Flash
Make-
Gordon. Stop.
Emily, read next?
I mean, that's a really enticing description. Great.
And girl, you can spend your channel points on whatever you want to. Like, that's the glory of them.
The poll
Yeah.
is at the top of your screen.
I'm currently at 54k, and I'm just waiting for the day I decide to just spend them all back to back to back to back to back on making Emily sing while playing like Baldur's Gate 3 or
Well,
something
Joke's
like
on
Schindler's
you.
List, the game.
I've adjusted that, and you can only do so many in a stream and so many back to back. So,
Well, I have
Joke's on you, because we have
133,000
the
stream points.
ability to go in and change that.
joke's on you. I can just not do it.
I still have 132,000 stream points that I can use.
That's so many points.
I'm going to say I'm not voting in this poll, so because I have no idea which one I want to read.
Snow Crash does have the illusion on a sea kayak.
What? A sea kayak? What?
Grot asked a question. I have answered it. Uh,
Okay.
has
With
the
the correct
has
people's group.
I've already forgotten the descriptions. I'm having to look back up on see what Snow Crash is, because I've
Snow
got
Crash-
them
That's the one with
smooshed together.
that's the one with hero protagonist.
A hero protagonist. Okay.
Yeah, Snow Crash is the post-cyberpunk novel that was written after sort of the main cyberpunk era, that basically took the tropes of the main cyberpunk era and made it more pulpy, quite frankly. But Neil
Looking like Snow
Stevenson is
Crash.
too smart for his own good, and put in some really, really smart boy stuff in it.
Yeah.
So we're reading Snow Crash next.
All
God
right.
damn it, Solar, you cheated.
How is that?
By already reading it.
By already
No,
reading it?
by contributing
I can-
3,000 channel points when I wasn't voting.
Oh,
Would you have
I
voted
contribute-
otherwise?
I contributed
really wanna-
3,000 channel points to Neuromancer and Snow Crash. I alternated
Okay.
between them.
I really wanted Neuromancer just to see how Emily would go with it now, but
I would
why-
read it. I would read it.
why not?
think
Why
that-
I wanted to love.
I think I'm the only one who put points to Neuromancer, and I put 5. I clicked on it 5 times.
Okay.
I wanted that too. I'm not going to lie, because I think that's a really influential and seminal read for
Yeah,
science fiction.
It is.
It is. Snow Crash wouldn't exist without it. Ready Player One wouldn't exist without it. Ready Player One wouldn't exist without Snow Crash. So,
Yeah. That was the thing. Like, Neuromancer is the seminal cyberpunk book, as far as I'm concerned.
Seminal.
But
it's not seminal. It's seminal.
but Snow Crash is just as seminal for the things it added on to Gibson. Like,
Yes.
Snow Crash is what I would say is the epitome of the building on the shoulders of giants, or standing on the shoulders
Neil
of giants.
Stevenson. Yes.
Yeah.
Neil Stevenson.
I'm sorry, Grot. I know. I'm sorry. I can't
Yeah,
help it.
like, although Johnny Mnemonic is also, I think, is really underrated because of the movie, and I love the movie, but that's because
I saw the movie 3 times in theaters, because the short story is one of my favorite short stories of all time. And every time I went to go see the movie, it's like, is it just me, or did they change so much? And I went in to see it. The first time I was like, maybe I just didn't get it. Maybe it was just my...
they did.
Second time I
but-
saw it, it's like... It has a lot. My feelings about the movie, I still like it. I do.
Yeah,
But there's too much virtual light in my Johnny Mnemonic.
but the thing is, you go back, you watch Johnny Mnemonic again, but only focus on the VR stuff, and look at where we are now, and what it envisioned in that movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
The
fact-
amazing thing, though, is just how big the memory stick in his brain is.
Okay.
It's a whole 5 gigabytes, or 400 megabytes.
Well, okay. We have got our next book picked. That's exciting. We'll drop that in the
I'm shopping on Thrift
Discord.
Books right now.
about it. With strange days.
Highly recommended site. By the way.
yeah,
I
like,
think that you'll have an easier time
Thriftbook.com.
finding Snow Crash or Neuromancer than you would finding Dragons
Oh, yeah.
of Autumn Twilight, because that one's real out of print, and
It's
and the
on.
Wizards
I
is-
briefly checked. It's on. You can get the digital version on Libby if you're a Libby member. Highly recommend that app if you have a library card. At least in the U.S., it's free.
That's very cool.
cool.
Yep.
So, highly recommend using Libby if you're a digital version person. So it is. I did briefly check that.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen Strange Days, Grut.
You should. Oh my fucking god! You do need to see that.
The name doesn't the name doesn't ring a bell. But what about
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Grind.
Ray Fiennes and Angela Bassett. And
I'm sorry, but if you want to start with cyberpunk movies, Hackers is the start. I'm sorry, there is no getting around that. Because as
Johnny Mnemonic.
No, as ludicrously ridiculous as the computer systems in Hackers is, the fact they reference the Rainbow books shows that whoever wrote it actually knows what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. Like, in terms of having the Rainbow books, having Tiger's book in there, there's a whole bunch of stuff that only someone who was into the scene itself knows. So, yeah, it's...
In between saying, hack the planet.
Okay.
I used to say hack the planet.
And then you did it, and now you've got that back.
Hackers is up there as one of the most 90s.
Yeah, oh yeah,
like time capsules.
But it's also one of those with Angelina Jolie boobies.
That's also in there.
It's a win.
So, just so that I can get this, I want to reiterate.
In a latex catsuit.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of.
I want to talk about Strange Days so very badly. So for our next movie day, you should watch it. Ray Fiennes, Ray Fiennes, Angela Bassett, Juliette Lewis, the guy who plays Chirito in Heat, whose name just went out of my head. He died last year or the year before.
Tom Sizemore.
Tom Sizemore. That's who it is. Yeah. It is directed by Catherine Bigelow and was written and produced. Sorry, it was written by and produced by James Cameron.
Oh. Okay.
Does anyone know what's streaming, if it's on anything streaming? I have access to Hulu, Prime Video in Australia, and yeah, some Australian stuff. I don't have Netflix. Or Max, or...
So very, very, very seldom
it's not available for streaming.
Oh.
It is not currently available for streaming.
Damn it.
So, yar and yo-ho.
Yeah, it's like... it's like Taps. Taps, I really want to rewatch again, and it's what I'm going to continually suggest to Emily and Matt, because it's just a fucking brilliant movie. But yeah, it's not available for streaming, it's not available for purchase, it's not available anywhere.
I'm like that with Hardcore Logo. Hardcore Logo, which I have recommended before, I don't think I can find on streaming, but I can find it for free on a Canadian influential movie, like one of the ones done by the Canadian government. So
that's cool.
I will look for that.
I like that. Well, guys, I think we're gonna call it. I'm gonna write some cats
at the end.
Time for Solar and I to go play some Star Rim.
Yeah, y'all go play some Star Rim. I'm gonna go get some dinner now that it's 9 p.m. here. Thank y'all, as always, so much for reading the books, hanging out, talking through. This is the most probably intellectual thing that I do most of the time. So
you regularly critically analyze films that you've never seen before. Be honest with yourself. You're smart and you do interesting things.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't be knocking yourself.
I do that. You're right. I do that.
Least of all on your own channel. What is this?
I do that to my own detriment sometimes. Sometimes when I'm truthful on the internet.
Thwip it.
Don't like people don't like that.
To a fault.
You're smart and wonderful. Shut up, Grot. You're smart and wonderful. No. Thank y'all.
Got him.
Y'all. We got him. Burned him. I know that. As always, thank you so much to my co-hosts. You're amazing. Guys, I'm looking forward to this next book. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. I'm speaking that into truth. It's gonna be great.
You're gonna read it, and it's gonna make your brain go,
Go burr.
the fuck you say.
Yeah,
It'll make your
it's
brain go
like,
burr, and
And
it'll
then you
make
can come here and go, wow,
Wow.
it made my brain go burr. Sola, do the thing.
Actually, I think it's gonna make your brain go. Brr.
Well, that do be happening. We're going to raid Plum Butts because she's adorable. She's playing Overwatch. I don't really know anything about Overwatch, but she's got really cute hair and she's got cute energy. So that's who we're gonna raid.
Overwatch, guns go brrr.
Brr, brr. Yeah.
They go Daka.
Thank you for hanging out. Stick around. We're gonna go see some cuteness. We will post in the Discord when we will be doing the next book club. So yeah, until then, y'all take care. We'll see.
Until 2024.
Shut up.
Yeah.